morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone. And I am assuming that my guest, Andrea Vahl, is going to be here any moment. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk for a few seconds as she's getting ready to come. And what I want everyone to know is that I think you will be so excited to meet her if you don't know her. She's quite a remarkable being. She's so much fun. She's an international speaker and consultant who is passionate about helping businesses understand and leverage the power of Facebook and Instagram ads for their business. But she's also a co-author of the Facebook Marketing All-in-One book for Dummies, which was like a doorstop. It was so big back, and I have a copy somewhere down the basement. And she's her newest book is Facebook Ads Made Simple. She's also a stand-up comedian, and we may be talking about life as a comedy here, right? Right?
Yeah, exactly. It is. Life is a comedy. In fact, I am so sorry that I am late to this interview. My gosh.
Oh, we're good. So one of the reasons I love your work and I appreciate you so much. There's been times where I was doing a consulting project and I'd call you up and go, okay, tell me what you know about this, so I can more accurately say what's working now, because you have hands-on, boots to the ground, experience with what exactly is working. So, because everyone's going, Facebook, what's going on?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep. Totally.
Right. But also that you have this wonderful life is fun personality. So the reason I contacted you, so we can go anywhere with this conversation, but I contacted you because I got an email, because I love being on your email list. And you are starting a podcast that is called the Late Starter Club.
Yep.
And so it says the podcast shows people in their 40s, 50s, and beyond who have successfully started a business, made a major career change, started acting, stand-up comedy, and creative endeavors, made a major health change, started competing as an athlete, or went back to
Yeah.
to school.
Yeah. So, people don't have to do all of those things all at once, but
but you do. I mean, that's what's amazing, is you're just amazing. So, okay, so where do we want to start with this? Do you want to talk about what inspired you to start the podcast? Because that's sort of fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And I think what was really the big starter, or the reason I kind of wanted to do this and was driven to do this, is just hearing people say, oh, I had a dream, or I was going to do something and now it's just too late, or it's too late to do anything now about that, and it was frustrating because I'm 52, and I didn't start my business until I was I guess I was technically 39, but it really, was but it's just like, you can change so much in such a short amount of time, and we have so much to give. We have so many things that we can be excited about. And I know that for me, midlife has been a kind of a time of rebirth and kind of realizing, wow, we've got some limited time left, and really understanding that, and really kind of wanting to do that big thing we've been dreaming of. And I do think that we're in our midlife, we are kind of have unique gifts that we can offer with all the wisdom we've gained, right?
Right. Well, I love this whole thing, because people are so worn. It's like a complaining club a lot of times when people get together right now, and it's like, where's the zest for life? What's the
Yeah.
adventure? This is
Yeah.
supposed to be fun. So, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, yes,
I
let's
know.
let's talk about what you can do.
Right, right, and it's like, I think that sometimes people feel a little lost and they don't know what to do and they don't, so I think that that is all was also the goal of this was to inspire people to be like, look at these people who like, just this recent podcast with this woman who started cycling at age 60. She had never rode her bike more than 8 miles before, and she signed up for a 3,000-mile cross country bike race. And now at 83, she's ridden over 33,000 miles. So I think that it's just really like about finding something that you are drawn to. If you don't know what it is, maybe it's just trying new things and being willing to make mistakes. I think that's also a scary thing for us, who, maybe you have a profession or you have something you do that you're really good at. And it's hard to think about being a beginner again.
Right, right. Well, I think that's a big part of the lesson. I mean, when you look at a little kid when they're learning to walk, they don't go, "I'll never do this."
Never mind, forget it.
It's like, "Oh, good thing I have a diaper on." Boom. But I mean, and we don't. We just get the bruises. But
Yeah,
but the thing is that life is supposed to be an adventure, and
right.
I think we forgot. Plus, the oppressive news and the oppressive, if
Yeah,
you're sensitive at all, the
oh yeah,
global consciousness has been like um,
right.
thick as molasses.
Yeah,
And so you have to either find other people that make you laugh and make you want to dance a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah.
I mean, I think it wasn't my 65th birthday, but it was one of those birthdays. I did a rollerblading party at
Oh,
the
that's
roller arena.
awesome. That is
Well,
great.
and of course, I was one of the only people out there. But and I did it for the full 2 hours, dancing to the music and everything. But I mean, that's the thing is like
Yeah,
what that's what the fun is. If you're gonna
yeah,
do something, really go for all out. But
exactly.
okay, so you even one of the things I watched you do because you are so much fun, seriously, is you
I
did
do
a
like to have fun.
video. You did a singing video with like six, or I guess there might have been four other
Yeah,
people. Or, what was
yeah.
that? So you're all
We
in like black
Right.
jackets and
So that's what I did for my 50th. You talked about, rollerblade party, and that's what I did for my 50th was I made a music video, and we had it all choreographed, and like I picked 2 favorite songs I had, and we kind of made a little dance around that and we had several locations we filmed on, which was super fun too. It was great. It was so awesome. It was actually, and it was kind of a fun thing because I was at a fundraiser and it came up like this choreographed music video, and it was a dance studio, and they also had a fundraiser for the people in Haiti who because the dance instructor is from Haiti, so he was raising money for that. And so the music video came up as an auction item, and I'm like, I think I need that. Pretty
oh,
sure I do.
well, that's what I'm saying is that I want everyone to follow you, whether it's for Facebook assistance or Instagram assistance,
Yeah.
is definitely you have the pulse on it, but you also make learning fun,
Yeah.
and you're out there showing us to be brave.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think that that's a big thing too, because it is a little scary. You feel like maybe someone's watching you, or you are, especially if you're joining a group that it has people who've been doing it for a while. So I recently just joined or started drumming, this Brazilian drumming,
Cool.
and it is super fun. They have a studio in Boulder, and I know they have groups like this all over the world. And it was very intimidating because there was a lot of beginners there, which was great, but then there were people who really knew what they're doing, and I felt like I had a lot of rhythm. I was like, I can do this. I can do drumming. I've got rhythm. But I got in there and it was like harder than I thought, and so it was intimidating when you make a mistake or you feel like, oh, and the director's like, you're off the beat and stuff. And I'm like, oh, dang it, and it's scary. So I think that if you can be brave and get past that, there's just so much joy in it too. Like, and it's just fun to try new things and try different, just pushing yourself outside of your little comfort zone, I think is really what life is all about, at least for me. So
Right. I think that's what being a marketer is like anymore too,
right.
because all the changes and I mean, we didn't pick the easiest profession, both of us.
I know, right?
Because the thing is the reason I picked it is I'm a constant learner.
Yep.
I like change. I
Yep.
like that
Yeah, me too.
I can keep trying to figure it out. It's a game. It really is a game.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that you're offering with this new podcast is for you to focus and highlight these incredible achievements that people have done where they were just as scared as you are
Right.
when they start something new, but they push through it. So what do you think that is that helps you push through it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that being in a group
Oh,
really helps. I feel like if you can find a group to give you that support, that
that's
is a huge piece of it. And it's kind of a theme that of some of the people I have been talking to so far is just, they have found a tribe of people. And that was the situation with Lynn Bruce, who did the cycling as well. She got in with a group who were all, similar age. They were all going, similar pace, not obviously the same exact pace, but people who were supportive and in the same space with her, to help kind of encourage her along and get her to the next spot. And I think that's also been what I've seen with anyone starting a business or starting a new like healthy habit. If you can get in with a group of people, there's a funny membership that I just heard about from this event I was at, which is also part of my group. I was in this group called Launch Club, and so that's my group of entrepreneurs that get together, and it's with Jeff Walker's. He started, and it's not mine, but they were highlighting some of these memberships that were around, and one was a guy started a group who's 300 pounds and running marathons.
Wow.
And he would often be like, they'd be cleaning up the race and he'd still be running. And so he started a group that's now really large. I can't remember exactly how many people it is, but it's called Slow AF. And it's all for people who are identifying as slow runners, people who, they're not with the traditional running club, who, they're just like, these gazelles that are running super fast. That's so I identify with that as well. I like running it, but I'm slow. So I think getting in with a group can help you through that and help support you in this, especially if it's something new, is something scary. You've got someone to lean on, people who help you realize that you are not alone.
Yeah. So the other thing is that during COVID, there was so many people that were afraid to be in group. Did you find that these people were brave enough to do it even during the past 2 years or 2.5 years?
Yeah, I think the kind of interesting thing for me was this. I was just in Launch Club at the Launch Club meeting this weekend, and so um,
Oh,
and so they did have a lot of people signing up during COVID, and that was our first in-person meeting that we had since 2019.
wow.
So it was kind of, fun to be able to finally get to meet these people. And I do think that meeting in person is just, it's hard to substitute. But the good thing is they also had a hybrid event so that, people who couldn't make it, couldn't travel, couldn't, for whatever reason get there, that they were able to support those people as well. And I think that's what has been a blessing that has come out of COVID and out of the pandemic, is that we realize now how many tools we have to actually still meet and gather in, in a group. And it's not always the same as in person, but for sure, just having that human connection, being able to talk to each other and learn from each other is huge. And we can do that with tools like StreamYard and Zoom and all that stuff. So
Yeah. So yeah, I was a beta tester for Zoom in 2015.
yeah, wow.
So thank goodness that we weren't using that version.
Yeah. Yeah. They started it right in the nick of time there.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that what's fascinating is this whole idea of the world is our oyster. And that's what the online and the offline, the
Right.
energy and because you've been teaching online for
Yeah.
a while, the energy and the actual enthusiasm and the capacity to learn is really been optimized, I think, because I worked with Arthur Anderson. I ran a division called the Change Enablement Group, and we did online learning. And back then we were doing it for big corporations, big stuff, and in their in-house training centers, learning centers. And everything's changed. Everything's changed. And back then it was like, well, it's cheaper to do this online learning than to bring the instructors in. And we have 25 locations and like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was $4,000 to train one person and facilitate. So you and spread them over a big thing that doesn't work very well. But this online learning setup. So how do you see that with what you're doing? Because you're at cutting edge. I think you're always at cutting edge. That's what I just did. I love you so much.
You're awesome.
Well, it's because it's like, what do we have to lose? We're not afraid of failure.
Yeah.
And failure actually is a step towards what does work.
Right. For sure. And I think that, I think you kind of mentioned a couple of things in that I think are really interesting to examine is, kind of how do you deal with change and how do you stay on the cutting edge at the same time, and how do you keep adapting? And I was thinking about that a lot this weekend. And I think that because, algorithms, all that stuff, that comes up all the time. What's working now, Reels or, TikTok or this or that or whatever it is. But I think ultimately what's not changing is the power of your story, the power of stories, the power of your marketing story, maybe, and that the fact that people really connect with stories and connect with, kind of that messaging thing. And what changes is the medium and the delivery, and sometimes how it's working exactly, long form, short form, like how do you get that attention? And I think, you have to be just really connected with the fact that you are putting out a message that people need to hear, whether it's a marketing message, whether it's a message in a different story that you're trying to tell about your business or your, whatever it could be. that you're trying to get out into the world. And you need to just make sure that you are connected to the right area that's getting that visibility at the moment. So, I think it is important to stay on the cutting edge, but I think it's also important to have that drive to realize you have to get your gift out in the world, and that includes, some type of marketing or some type of working with the tools and whatever they might be. So keeping on the cutting edge of that can be helpful.
Well, I think what also I want people to know is everything's about relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it used to be, you go into a bank, you shake the banker's hand, and you could get a loan.
Right.
Everything's about relationship, and we need to really keep thinking that way. That it's about helping each other and being in service. It's a big part of the excitement of is how can I best serve? I think.
Right.
Don't you? I mean, I know that's the way you are.
Yeah.
And so what happens is if you identify the person that you best serve, the avatar, and it's not the movie, you guys. It's but the avatar, and then the avatar, where I have lots of customers where it's like, okay, well, we're talking to Sally now.
Yeah.
This isn't your alter ego. This is Sally. And how can you help Sally? What does Sally need to get her to here?
Yeah.
And all of that. So it's all relationship. Right. And when you show up in a fun way, like what you've done, I mean, how do you suggest, like when you're presenting, because you've got all sorts of different businesses and nonprofits and stuff that you help, how do you suggest, I mean, a lot of those owners have to be in your late starters club.
Yeah. That was actually kind of one of the other things that I was passionate about, because I do kind of, that's kind of a lot of people I'm connected with anyway, is people in this point in their lives, they might be starting something new, or they might be just trying to get the word out in a different way. And so they're using like Facebook and Instagram and Google and ads and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think that the big thing is, just really finding a way that works for you personally, that feels true to your brand. Because I definitely don't think, it helps to be like, oh, we're going to go viral with this weird thing that doesn't even make any sense for us, or isn't really true to us. And so I think that, again, just like really keeping in mind how you show up in the world regularly is how you should show up online, and how you should show up in videos or whatever content you might be making out there. So I think that still can stay consistent, because I think some people think that they have to be a different way online. And I've never, they have all those videos. So I do, Facebook and Instagram ads and all that stuff. And there's some personas out there that are like, whoa, they've got all the money and the cars, and they're like leaning up on them and whatever. And they're like, I was, driving around my car yesterday with no money, and now today I'm, making $1 bazillion and whatever. So I actually made a spoof video of that, because it made me laugh so much. So I was waving around my cash and leaning on my old minivan, like So anyway, that I think that is how you have to show up, is just really being authentic and true to yourself. And I think that comes across when you are picturing that one person, like you said, like Sally, or who are you talking to? If you can just talk to that one person like you would talk to them, then it comes across more relational, and more people connect to that message a little bit easier.
Right. Well, and I mean, it's all in service in an authentic way, which is what you said, basically showing up. And I think social media killed you not showing up
Yeah.
authentic, because that's
Yeah.
impossible. It's because if you want to put your kids' pictures or your cats and
Yep.
dogs' pictures on there, it's like, okay, now they know everything. And
Yeah.
your failed garden this year. uh, yeah, but anyway, what do you think though, as far as your podcast? I mean, um, podcast is different for you. You've been on
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram, and you seriously, I don't. What year was that book written?
Yeah, that was written in 2011 originally, and yeah, I gotta go
Do you
find
have
it.
it still?
I do. People say,
Yeah.
so I do tell people don't necessarily go out and buy this book now. The
Things have changed a little bit.
I know the latest. So we wrote 3 editions, and it was with Amy Porterfield, Phyllis Kerr, the first 2 editions, and then the 3rd edition was with John Hayden and Jan Zimmerman. And it's changed a lot since the last edition came out, and I think it was 2015 or 16. I can't even remember. And I what I actually just totally blanked out on the question on.
Well, I mean, okay. So
Oh yeah, how is podcast different?
because basically
Yeah.
what you're doing, I mean, you're a comedian. Any
Yep.
podcast with you will be a blast. It'll be the light side of life.
Yeah,
not
yeah,
the
yeah.
heavy. Even if there's some heavy truth in it, it'll be presented in the
Right.
lighter side.
Yep.
Because life is a workaround.
Right.
Now.
Right.
That's realistically, there isn't anybody that doesn't have to go, oh, I used to go to that restaurant.
Yeah.
It's not there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the workaround,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, everything's like that now.
Right. Right. And I
So,
think for me, like starting the podcast was kind of like a little bit of a, kind of a passion project. It's not like I'm giving up on my business of helping, people do Facebook, Instagram, Google ads. I love that. It's interesting. But I think for me, what I found, and I think this is what happens for a lot of people, is that they just needed something else. There was something that was calling to them. And, it was funny because people kept saying, oh, you should start a podcast. You start a podcast. I never really wanted to start a podcast about Facebook ads because I feel like that's very visual. I like doing webinars around that. I need to be able to show
Point
little screens and stuff like that. So I never really wanted to do a podcast about Facebook ads. And when I started thinking about this, it got me excited. And I think that's what you have to kind of notice, like what is sparking you right now. And I think we've been trained to think, oh, I don't know if I have time for that. And I don't probably have time for that. But but what I found too with that is that I was excited about it. It was super fun. It's been really fun for me to build it. I love having we do ours on StreamYard as well. So we have video and the podcast. And what I found that that happened for me is that when I had that spark and that extra excitement, it spilled over into my ads business as well. And I've thought of all kinds of new creative ideas for that as well.
Mhm.
And I think that's what happens when we are living in this kind of energetic space where we have creativity flowing, that it just bleeds over naturally into all areas of your life.
Right. Well, and people don't realize what a commitment this is.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I'm on my 3rd year, 10th month.
That's amazing.
But I've learned so much. That's the deal. It's like I'm really learning and growing and excited about it. It is I'm not excited, I probably shouldn't do it anymore. But it doesn't feel like, oh, I have to do this.
Right.
And and I seriously, I've read a gazillion books because if I'm interviewing somebody, it's like, oh, quick speed read, because you don't want to show up like you didn't even look at their book. But because the first year of it, I only interviewed people I knew. that
Right.
I'd worked with.
Yeah.
So 52 weeks of that. So
Yeah.
how are you finding people to interview?
Yeah, kind of an interesting thing that's been really fun with that is that first I did know a lot of people,
Uh-huh.
but I'm finding the podcast is only a couple weeks old at this 2 weeks old at this point, and people are like saying, "Oh, you got to have so and so, you got to meet so and this person," and I'll even say it's kind of like I'll tell one person they're like they go and give me 5 people to go interview. So I feel like I'm going to have interviews for 3 years, but it's been super fun and people are excited about this topic. So I think that's the other thing that's fun for me right now too, is that it's a kind of timely. I don't know if it's timely, or maybe it's just because I'm in midlife that I think it's timely. But it's been really fun to get connected to all these people who are doing amazing things, and it's super inspiring to me. And that's the other thing that I love about it is that it like you said, it doesn't feel like work. It fills you up. It's exciting and
Yeah.
fun and inspiring.
Yeah. And I don't monetize this. I mean, I took a course to how to monetize it and I couldn't figure out how to do it. Um,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
it's a
think it
lot.
would take a lot of the fun out of
Yeah,
it for me. But the whole idea of it is honestly to see all these different ways of being.
right, right,
I mean, some of these, I mean, when you talk to somebody that's running and maybe wasn't even an athlete in high school,
right, right.
that's like, oh, this human body is miraculous.
It is. Yeah. 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 And it's miraculous how I think the other thing that's miraculous to me is how the brain works and how we think about things and the way our we evolve as people throughout our lives.
Yeah.
Like you might not identify as a runner or a cycler or whatever and that was another thing that Lynn Bruce came up was saying is she's like, people think I'm some super athlete. She's like, I'm not a super athlete. That's a, total misconception. And I think sometimes though, you can change your perception of yourself. And I think that's pretty miraculous.
Oh,
It's awesome.
each morning when you wake up, you can be somebody new. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. People
That
don't
that
realize
sounds like
that
a problem,
no
but
one's really no one's really watching you.
yeah.
That's it. Okay, so I have a question about you with your kids.
Yeah.
While they're watching you bloom, I think you're blooming. Um, while they watch you trying all these things, are they going, "Oh, mom"? Are
Yeah,
they
yeah.
going, "Yay, mom"?
Yeah, I think that they didn't realize. So I started my business with Grandma Mary
Right.
when they were really young. My son was it was
Wait. Can you tell people more about Grandma Mary?
yeah,
'Cause I know
yeah. So
what it is, but they might.
so so you talk about kind of weird uh, so I actually started my business wearing wigs and blogging as a character named Grandma Mary, social media edutainer. And that was back in 2009. And I made videos as Grandma Mary. And the idea, and maybe it was like a little bit of foresight into where I was going, is just I like to be an older person or something. But, but, her motto was, if Grandma Mary can do it, then you can do it too. So I would wear this wig and glasses and crazy shirt, and I would do these YouTube videos. And back when there were only 4 social platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and, and LinkedIn. Those were the big 4. So the so they, I think, didn't realize how abnormal it was because I had done that since they were young, and they were like, "Oh, wait, your mom doesn't dress up in wigs and talk real weird. Oh, that's weird." so I think for them it's been normal, and what has been fun too for me to see them, um, you know, give them permission to try unusual things and do things that are are maybe outside of their comfort zone as well. My younger son, started his own YouTube channel, and he's actually surpassed me in subscribers, and he has monetized his YouTube channel. He does these tutorial videos and fun videos around the Oculus VR headset, and so that's been amazing to watch him create content. Now he started that when he was 15. He's now 17, and he's had like the game developers reach out to him because he's sort of a little influencer in that space, like at that age. So it's super fun to see that. And then my older son is now at school, like doing film. He's been trying out for some auditioning for some roles and acting, and and he made all kinds of little Lego videos and stuff like that. So it's been fun to kind of see how they have incorporated some of that into their own, trying things and getting out there and seeing a bigger picture for some of that stuff too. So it's fun.
I wanted everyone to know that, I mean, just because you're a mom and you have teenagers doesn't mean that you can't do things.
Yeah.
Because the thing that we're saying is that every day you do wake up brand new, and wake up with an idea that anything, you can be successful at anything if you're willing to stick with it. That's the other thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at like where my business started, I mean, that's the thing that I think is miraculous too, is that I started my business in 2009 thinking that all I wanted was, I was like, oh, if I could just make an extra $500 or $1,000 a month, that would be great. That's kind of how I started. I didn't plan on starting this, big thing where I'm traveling around the world and all that stuff, but things can grow with you and they can change quickly. Things can happen quickly. Sometimes it takes longer, and that's okay too, because if it's the whole, like, the best time to plant a tree was yesterday, the best time is now, whatever, So, it is always, you start where you're at that moment. And I think it is the other thing that I think is hard about this whole, online space sometimes is that it's much easier to compare ourselves to a wider range of people. And we might think, and I have this myself, like, Amy Porterfield and I wrote the book together, and now she's like this huge mega star, and our journeys have just been different. And some people might think that, oh, Andrea and I started in this group and now she's doing really well and I'm not. And so I think comparing ourselves is a little bit of a mistake with that, but it also can tell us and inform us of that the fact that kind of dream and that kind of thing is possible for anyone. You can do it, and anyone can do it. And it's important to honor your own journey, but also realize that anything is possible if you just keep at it and put your mind to it and keep going with those baby steps on that dream and that journey.
Well, you said before something that really I want to reiterate about the fire, where you found the energy, and that's part imagination, where you sort of sit there and go, well, could I do this?
Yeah.
Should I do this? And a lot of us are stopped at that point. It's like, should I do this? Oh, my mother. Oh, my father.
Yeah.
Oh, my brothers. I mean, I still talk to my brother and he'll just go, I don't know what you're doing. Either do I, but I'm having fun.
I know. Yeah. Right. That's what it's all about, is just to have fun.
Right. Well, it's fun and imagination, because the thing is we don't realize, and I'll get a little woo-woo because that's what I do, but we're creating all of this. This is all our creation. So why not try something new out? Why not try? I mean, the fact that you can do on stage stand-up comedy, that's got to be one of the hardest professions in the world. I mean, acting is one thing. Acting, you already were Grandma Mary. You started your acting career.
Yeah, right. I know.
But I mean, acting, somebody gives you a script, you get your psyche in it, But when you're up there going, okay, the room didn't laugh at that last
Yeah.
thing. What do I?
Yeah. That
Could we
feels
talk
personal.
about that?
That feels
I know.
feels a little personal right there. Yeah. It is.
Oh my God.
It is hard, and it's like, I think that, stand-up comedy is definitely not for everybody, but I love it because I think I love making people laugh. I think it's one of my favorite things. I think that is, if anything can be on my, gravestone, it is, she made people laugh, and, the thing I think about that too is the interesting thing about comedy and performance and pushing yourself into that realm, and it kind of relates back to, you know, feeling like you're out there in the spotlight a little bit with whatever thing new thing you try. Sometimes it is about getting in front of the right audience. So, like for me, I will get in front of an audience of 20-year-old dudes at an open mic, and no one laughs. It is, and they don't laugh at my midlife mom humor. They're just like, that was stupid. And so that's kind of hard to push through. But we will have a group of middle-aged moms out at our show. Actually, the show's coming Sunday, and we'll have that group, 100 women out there, and we crush it. And so sometimes it's about remembering that you might not be delivering your message in front of the right audience. And so, it's important to remember that. It's important not to stress about the people who don't get you, who aren't receptive to what you're having to say. That's just not your people. And you have to keep that in mind and not take that personally. So yeah,
But that's, you're brave though. I mean, that's a badge of courage to go do an open mic where you have no control, no idea what the audience is, and talk about your life. And but I have to tell you guys, there's been all these studies about how do I put this? If you have humor with your education, you retain more. There's
yeah.
all sorts of studies that talk about the memory banks,
Mhm.
and the way your brain actually works.
Right.
So that's the one thing about you, teaching and then being Mary or being you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do. I think humor is so great in everything we do, because things go wrong. Things are hard. Things are, you just sometimes you want to cry. But if you can laugh, and then it just makes it better. And especially with Facebook ads, my God, you just have to you have to laugh.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, do you find that you talk to yourself more during all of this? I used to make fun of my sister, and
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like, oh my God, I just did that to myself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know, and sometimes I actually just wrote a joke about this, is that, I I was talking to myself, and then I started really getting in a heated argument with myself. I was like, "No, you shut up. No, you shut up." It
Oh
was
my God,
I was
that's when
starting to
you
get
have
a
to worry. That's why I wondered about your boys. Is like, oh, mom's really,
yeah,
she's on
yeah.
the fringe. We better
I
get
know.
the oxygen.
I know, my boys are sometimes like, "Okay, we're just gonna leave now," you know? That's I think they're glad when they got the driver's license, they can
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the truth anyway, because it's like they know so much more. They're sure of everything. Whereas as we get older, we're not sure. We're
Yeah,
getting more and more open to everything. But
right.
back in your 20s, you know everything and you're sure it's correct,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay. Well, so when you're doing this late starters idea, do you find that you're having to encourage, because most of the small businesses you work with are late starter
Mhm.
people. Are
Mhm.
you finding that you're having to be the cheerleader, or
Yeah,
some bring that kind of fun energy? Because you can, again, I just think of George Carlin. He told the truth with comedy. I mean, he
yeah.
was gutsy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with working with late starters, it is I think it's hard because maybe people haven't kept up with technology, maybe they are scared to learn something new. And I'm talking about like mostly just businesses too, is that people are certain people are afraid of technology, and like, and it is something new. Like I remember when I was starting my website, I couldn't even wrap my head around WordPress. I was like, I don't know what's happening. And my site looked all weird. And I was trying to do it myself because I was bootstrapping my business. And I had weird pictures over here and then like a weird old big old thing there. And the font wasn't right. It was all messed up and it looked terrible. And I was just like broken down to tears sometimes because I was like, I've been working so hard at this and it still looks awful. And so I think that um and that's can also be the same with Facebook ads and any type of ad platform, that it's just more complicated. Anything, Google Analytics, everything is a learning curve. And so I think the biggest thing that I can say for late starters is that you may need a little bit more grace with yourself, because you can get really down on yourself. And I don't see young people doing that as much. I think they're like diving in a little more and they realize they don't know things, or that they're just gonna, it's like exciting to learn. Whereas people in their midlife, they get kind of frustrated because they're used to being an expert at something. Maybe they're an expert in their field, or maybe they're they are or maybe they're just scared to wrap their head around everything. And so I think having a lot of grace with yourself is a big thing. And then the other thing too is to remember, and what I like about late starters is that oftentimes we have more disposable income to kind of hire things out. Like maybe we've had a career, we've had some success, we have that built up, and we can say, you know what, yep, that I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And I think that can be a really great thing, because then you don't have to worry. It does help to know certain things about like technology, so you might know what's possible or not possible, and make sure that like whoever you're working with is kind of telling you the right things too. So it helps to know a little bit, but I think the good thing is you don't have to know everything to start something new.
I don't think you can know everything.
No, right.
As soon as the internet got this, there's so many choices,
Mm-hmm.
and there's, but as I said before, everything's a workaround or an
Mm-hmm.
autocorrect,
Yeah.
because you try something and go, that didn't work. But I used to have a friend who talked about his mother, or I think his sister may have told me, his mother had very little money to run for a house with 4 kids. And
Mm,
the father was a principal. And so they had all the money during the school year, and then they
yeah.
had to make it through the summer. And and she said, well, mother would just have a breakdown moment, get on the floor, just cry and do all of this, and then pick herself back
Yep.
up and
Yep.
go for it.
Yep.
So that's what we've kind of forgotten, that
Yep.
we kind of,
Yeah.
we're forgotten that the real victory and the real thing. I remember the first website I did in 1995. I was having a hell of a time with HTML, and then it was server side HTML.
Mm,
And I remember doing the happy dance when I finally got it to work,
yeah.
no one was around. I was in my office and I
Yeah.
danced, and it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I did it. It's
Yeah.
because the computer's a modified typewriter, you
Right.
guys.
Yeah. Right.
It's just
Right.
an enhanced typewriter.
Right. Right. And actually that is, that's something you mentioned, like having the little breakdown. And I think that's I just was reading this quote that every breakdown is leading you to the breakthrough.
Yep. Yep.
And and uh one of my guests, Gina Schreck, on the episode number 4, I think it was, she was talking about how she was, didn't know how to figure out funding. She was opening this big co-working space, and she was in her 50s and doing this and didn't understand all this stuff. Everything was coming out over budget. And she would just have a breakdown in her office in this big co-working space by herself. And then she said she just pick herself up. And she talked about this really funny moment where she was having a breakdown and she was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And she got a phone call, and like, as you do, as women do, especially, you're like, oh, hello, how may I help you? Like, all of a sudden the switch is flipped, and it was someone calling saying, I am just so glad you opened this space and for women. And because it was like focused on, they were going to have childcare and all kinds of supportive other things. And she's like, it just was like a call from the universe, like an angel calling her to give her that message. And I think that's something that does happen if we are open to that, listening to that, and remembering that it's fine to have a breakdown. I watched, I think it was Glenn Ross. This is a super old film. I'm way dating myself. And I still will remember this moment. Holly Hunter would go out every morning on this little pier and just like go out there, cry, sob, break down. Then she'd be like, okay. And then she'd like go into work. And I'm like, God, that's really good tool right there. I like that.
Well, I find I used to have a clothing store called The Bugle in downtown Boulder, and people would tell me all their stuff, and I'm so sensitive, and I would have to rent black and white movies and cry.
Yeah.
Just to try to release it. It's
Yeah.
yeah. So but the push through is what I just want to encourage people that, there's such a fine space between that struggle, that challenge, that wall that you hit, and the juicy stuff.
Yeah.
And the stuff afterwards, right? Because you can say that, especially for being a comedian, you probably did try all sorts of different routines before you found one that worked.
Yeah. Well, and still, it's always a work in progress. It's always like you think something's going to work. You think something's going to be super funny. I wrote this joke and I was like, ba-dum-ba. I was like, that's how I felt when I delivered it. And it was like crickets, and I'm like, and that's how things can be in your business as well, is that you think this is going to be great. It's going to be perfect. And it doesn't land exactly. And maybe it's a little bit of tweaking is all it needs. Or maybe it just is like that's not a fit, and we'll just keep going.
Yeah. Well, the thing, I guess you are a Renaissance woman to me.
Well, so are you. You are too.
Well, for all the different ways that we show up and the creative endeavors, because that, again, imagination is the kind of lost skill that I think the education system doesn't encourage it as much as it used to. And so what we're doing, we're cheerleading everyone to try new stuff, see what gives you like this internal glow, that because you'll feel it if you try to feel it, rather than and no, really, you guys, people aren't watching you, they're watching themselves.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and I think you mentioned that we've forgotten how to dream. We have, and I think that, and maybe we're scared to dream. We've had some disappointments, and so that could be part of it. And I think just allowing yourself to the space and the time and the grace to dream.
Well, dream and act. The thing is that you hear all these people talk about what matters most. There's a Dr. Karen Wyatt wrote a book. She was one of the heads of the hospice, the national hospice, because she's a doctor. And she wrote a book called What Really Matters Most. And on your deathbed, you're not going to be saying, oh, I shouldn't have done that. You'll be going, why didn't I do that? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, Daniel Pink's got a new book out that I
Oh,
can't wait to
yes.
dive into called The Power of Regret.
Oh,
And
wow.
and I think that's another just in that same vein. And I think that we do need to act. We need to remember that we need to get her done.
Well, from my perspective, we stood in lines and we won the lottery to get to be on Earth right now during these
Mm,
huge times of changes.
mm.
And so go for it. That's what Andrea is saying. And Andrea is a great example of somebody that goes for it. And she's now with her new podcast, besides being an incredible teacher and a fun person to watch, and a comedian, and now an actress and a rock star uh, movie person. What do you call that? Oh, music video gal
Yeah.
and
I don't know.
MTV gal, and and now a new podcast.
Yeah, it's fun.
And you do sleep and you do feed your
I
kids. So
do. I do. And I did take 7 vacations this year. So that's the other thing that is, I mean, I think that's it is when you're living in that joy and doing things, it's you can fit them all in and do, it sparks energy.
that's right. That's right. And I just want everyone to make sure they know how to get a hold of you. And I know you've got your regular website. Will you
Yeah.
share what's the best ways to?
Yeah, so my regular website is just at AndreaVahl.com. It's VAHL is the last names.com. And then my new podcast is at latestartersclub.com. So thank you so much, Kathy, for
Oh,
having me on. Again, I apologize for being late, but
oh no,
um,
it worked out
I
perfect.
just
It worked
awesome.
out perfect. Thank you so much. And please, you guys, watch Andrea because she's just begun. Even though she's already done all these, I mean, I'll bet you, well, you'll see, she's just begun.
You're awesome,
Thank you
Kathy.
so
Thank
much.
you.
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.